very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. I'm Ritvika Gupta and you're tuning into our very special Children's Day episode tonight. In this episode, we are chatting with a brand that's transforming the way kids eat in India. From nostalgic childhood food memories to valuable insights for entrepreneurs, we've got an exciting and fun-packed episode for you. On the show tonight, I'll be in an exclusive conversation with Shauravi Malik, co-founder Slurp Farm. Listen in. Well, joining me live in an exclusive conversation is Shauravi Malik, co-founder of Slurp Farm. Hi, Shauravi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, as you know, we are having this conversation in line with Children's Day. So, my first question to you would be, over the course of your journey with Slurp Farm, how have you observed the nutrition landscape, especially for children in India, evolve? What are the key changes that have, stood out to you in this transformation?
So things have changed so much from when we started. About 8 years ago, when we started, we felt there were not enough millets on the shelves. And what we were trying to do at the time, saying no sugar or salt in cereals or eating whole grains and not having maida, it it always felt like you were trying to do habit change. When people had a lot of sort of comments around, oh, healthy can never scale, you won't be able to do this, people like to eat junk. And I think A, over time, but B, especially COVID, has really caused a sort of sea change in focus and understanding of nutrition. And I think that the awareness of nutrition for young children, especially, is at a really, really all-time high. So I'd say it's been a major change for us as a company.
Sure. Now, Shauravi, since we are talking about Children's Day, do you have a personal favorite childhood food memory?
Oh, lots. I have lots of, I love food, I think. And so, some of my favorite childhood memories are really both my grandmothers were excellent cooks. And my mother is a fantastic cook. And so perhaps my favorite childhood thing to eat was actually this sort of South Indian dish, and it's basically it's called saru, but it's basically like a rasam or with more dal in it than normal. So it's like your daily dal with the cabbage sabzi, and that was probably my most favorite thing to eat with really yummy ghee.
Now, today kids can be very picky eaters, and I'm sure many parents watching this can attest. Has there been a product idea at Slurp Farm that came from directly observing how kids eat?
Yeah, actually, every idea at Slow Farm comes from how children eat, So obviously, when we first started, one of the things that we did was we took all the first few products to a school, and we had 7 different things to try. And children don't lie. Adults can lie and tell you, not bad or whatever, but kids don't lie. And so we had pretty immediate feedback. But after that, we first launched with these cookies because they poo-pooed some of the other products and we had cereals. But I will say after that, every stage kind of was we would see how our children were eating and what they needed. So, people were making pancakes out of the cereals that we made. So we just made really good pancakes and dosas made out of millets. Then came this whole stage where our own children grew up and they wanted things to take in their bus tiffin or like their snack box. And so we made the Mighty Puff and the Mighty Munch came at that time, which is this like a snack you can put in your bag and eat on the bus. Um, Lots of things like children eat a lot of dry fruits, right? They need it for energy. So we have a little trail mix right now. The cookies are always a firm favorite. Then we noticed that noodles are a big thing in all of our day and life. And can there be a version which is not fried? All children and adults love noodles. So we went about and we have now noodles which are not fried and made with millets. So I would say every part of what we do as product development always has children at the heart of it.
Now, Slurp Farm has championed millet-based products as part of its offering. Tell us, how do you make something as traditionally simple as millets exciting for children to eat?
So, the thing is that we don't change the form factor that children find exciting. So, we've reimagined these traditional grains like millets in ways that children like to eat, like pancakes and snacks. So, one of the first things Meghna said was that she said, my mom used to make me eat a lot of ragi, and Meghna was a swimmer for the Indian national swim team. And she said, my mom made me eat so much ragi, but can we use ragi in what we make and make it in a fun way? Because she also used to have it as like that health mix drink, which is what led to the first ragi cookie or making pancakes with it and making the pancakes taste amazing. So I would say that it's always been to make what may seem as a less exciting ingredient, but super nutritious. So we don't always try to just play on health. What we make is also super yummy in a way that children like to eat. And that I think is what makes us um, really go that extra mile to meet children where they need.
Now, on the topic of Children's Day, if you could go back to your own childhood and change one thing about how kids back then used to approach food, what would that be? And do you think today kids are more open to healthier choices?
That's a really easy one. So when we were children, there was no understanding of the harmful effects of sugar. So I don't think, like, even in our houses where we ate really healthy, the concept of too much sugar is not good for you had not really come about at the time. And so I would really like to change that, because I think my childhood had a lot of sugar in it. And part of the reason for wanting to start Slurp Farm was this understanding around, I would say, the later life health problems that has caused for me. And therefore being really conscious of that with my own children. So I think that next generation today, because they have the awareness that we now have about food, which maybe wasn't even there in that same degree, say 10, 20, 30 years ago, they're definitely more aware and more informed.
So, kids today are growing up in the age of social media. Tell me, how has Slurp Farm tapped into this trend, in terms of your communication, that goes out from Slurp Farm, that really makes healthy eating exciting? How do you do it online?
Um, so we have leveraged social media in many ways. We have a community called Yes Moms, which is it's a way to enable and support all of our customers. And it's a group where you can discuss anything related to kids' nutrition and any topics related to children's nutrition. And, in terms of directly engaging with children itself, which is what you asked me, how does Slurp Farm engage with children directly? We use social media in very much fun ways. So with the launch of Noodles, it's the first time we moved from messaging to the customer, which is the mother, and going direct to the consumer, who's the child. So we did a really fun ad called Dig Twist Slurp. And the idea of Dig Twist Slurp was to get children like to really engage with the idea of like you dig into your noodle, you twist it, you slurp it. And so it's a slurp from really yummy, healthy noodle. And it was to make that idea behind Dig Twist Slurp come alive in the context of the noodles. So more and more what you'll see of us do as a brand is to directly engage with children to make them have fun with the idea of food.
We'll take a short break here, but don't go anywhere. When we return, Shauravi will share advice for entrepreneurs who are aspiring to start their own businesses. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12, and this is our Children's Day special episode. I'm in conversation with Shauravi Malik, co-founder of Slurp Farm, who's been talking to me about how she's making healthy eating fun for kids. Listen in. Right, and I'm glad you brought up the Yes Moms community, because speaking of which, it's a very interesting and inspiring initiative. Tell us, how has that influenced Slurp Farm's mission and growth? And I also want to talk a little bit about the rise of mompreneurs. How do you see this shift influencing the business world in India?
So I can talk about both first. Yes, moms and then mompreneurs. Yes, moms was started to say that I think moms are looking for more than just being sold to, you know. So we don't always want to just have like, here's a product, buy it. We want to learn, we want to engage with other moms, we want to figure our own choices. We're looking for support. I think becoming a parent the first time is quite a like a shock almost, right? And you're looking for community. People don't always live with their parents. So it's not very clear how you will go about raising a child if you're not living in this extended wider family. You're dependent on either your friends who may or may not have children, or you look for that community online. And so that was what Yes Moms is trying to do. I think in the context of mompreneurs and how that is really changing, right? I mean, I think it is, I will say that I struggle with that word because there are no dadpreneurs out there. But I think that the fundamental intent behind using that word is often that there are many mothers out there who have taken the leap to being entrepreneurs, often around the stage when they have children, because being in conventional employment is not always compatible, right? Like with having very small children. And I think that they come up with fantastic, some of the best business ideas. And we're not there yet, but I wish there was a way for us to support that community of really bright businesses out there. Yeah.
Well, extending that thought, since you have a lovely co-founder, Meghna, as well, tell me, in what ways do you think being women in business, like co-founders and business partners, how has that provided you with a different perspective on entrepreneurship?
I think it's every day. So firstly, it's really, if there's any entrepreneur watching this, it's really great to start a business with another person and not to be a solo founder. It is life's greatest joy to work with Meghna. We are two moms, and I think whenever, we always try to support each other through our various life phases and stages, right? And we've all had, there are many women in our team today. And so I think part of that is also to be um two women founders who understand and are supportive of these life stages in the lives of other women.
Great. Shauravi, tell us, what's that one children's food related myth or misconception that you wish you could bust for good? Something that parents hear all the time but may not necessarily be true.
Oh, this is a long list. I think the one that I would like to bust is that healthy can't be yummy. That's one. And a close second is this whole thing around like all packaged food is bad for you. Because eventually, unless you're growing your food, everything that we eat is coming out of a packet of some sort, unless you're eating all fruit and vegetable only. And I think that we have to, as consumers, be more informed, and children especially, on reading the what goes into the packet.
So, as consumer expectations and dietary needs, continue to evolve, tell me, how do you approach balancing traditional ingredients with innovation, in your products? How do you view innovation?
So we put innovation at the heart of everything we do, and that is that we keep trying new recipes. We keep trying to know what it is that the consumer wants, because there's always ingredients that are in vogue. But at the end of it, feeding children, is something humanity's been doing for millennia and billions of years, or since we were all around. And I think the innovation over there for us is to make sure that we keep checking that we still taste great. So just today we sat and tasted all our products again to say, are we still doing the best we can?
Sure. Now tell me, with so many healthy food brands in the market that are present right now, how do you ensure that Slurp Farm continues to stand out and maintain trust among parents?
Yeah, that's a constant endeavor, in fact. Because when we started, it was almost, there was no one there. And so it almost felt like, there's so few people doing this. Is this a good idea? And I think now we're on the other end of the spectrum, where it's great actually to see so many different food brands, because I think that is what you need to actually make a health food movement, right? When there are enough people who think it's a problem that you need to solve.
Sure. So how do you envision Slurp Farm contributing to India's larger health and nutrition goals, especially in terms of children nutrition?
It's very much a part of that, and that's very much the reason why Meghna and I started Slurp Farm. Because I think that children at all ends of the spectrum, right? Not just necessarily customers, but we want to solve food. And so when we said we're going to solve it at the paying customer level, but also try to solve it at the life of the customer who's not always necessarily able to pay. So we do many things in that regard. One is as we scale and the more children that we can inform about eating healthier.
So, our show is watched by a lot of entrepreneurs, who are perhaps in their initial stages of business. Can you share a challenging moment, or decision in Slurp Farm's journey that pushed you to rethink or reinvent the brand's direction?
Look, Ritvika, we have challenges every day, today, always, and many times, of course, as entrepreneurs, you do question, like, am I doing the right thing? Is this the best thing for my family? I'm always at work. It takes on so much of my life's energy and day, and I think that there are many decisions we've made, and I can share one or two of them over time where we almost changed how we work, right? So when we started, we wanted to be a fully organic food brand. And about a year and a half into it, I realized that when I saw the sourcing chain and I would try to double click, triple click into all the products being truly organic, it was not possible. And many times people did not have the full chain. So I felt that we could not put our true sort of ethical hat on and say everything is organic if we were not 100% sure. But that difficulty at the time seemed so insurmountable. And it presented us with that thing that is really the heart of the brand today, right? Both Meghna and I have always eaten millets in our families. And I said, why don't we move to doing more with millets and use millets? And then you don't have to make the organic claim because millets are anyway born organic and they don't use much pesticide and no fertilizer is used while growing them. So that is what caused our switch to using more millets. We were using a bit, but it caused us to fully switch. And that has been, something which has really been the heart of our brand. So sometimes out of difficulty comes answers.
Sharvi, you spoke about sourcing. I want to understand that a bit better. Today, how does Slurp Farm balance scalability while maintaining ethical and responsible sourcing? Could you tell us?
That's a really good question, Ritika. I think that here's the really, really, really sort of driving tenet behind it. One is on the ingredient end, we believe that what is missing from all of our diets today is diversity because most people eat the same, it's known fact, but like 80% of most food consumption is 12 ingredients. And so people are basically eating too much of the same thing. And this is why we have allergies and food intolerances. So what we wanted to do was increase the diversity of food ingredients. So if you'll see, we use moong dal, we use millets, we use oats, we use a whole different set of even in the grains world. But how we maintain the sustainability and scalability a little bit is to define, we don't use all 8 millets. We use 3 and we become better at making recipes out of them and better at being able to source them. In terms of sustainability, so one is that our ingredient choices are driven by sustainability itself. Therefore, we want to use a lot of millets in what we make. We also try wherever possible, right, to say, how can we do this better? Actually, the only way to have what is called a circular food system is to put the person growing your food also at the heart of your set of stakeholders, right? So today, the company very much has the customer, the stakeholder, the people in our company as stakeholders, people's wider health outcomes. But I hope that in the 10 year, in the next 8 to 10 years, it's been 8 years, but the next 8 to 10 years, I'd like to solve for that. Where, how can you have a relationship of codependence versus one which is very much just give or take, and solving that is something I would really like to be better at.
And what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are aspiring to start their own businesses, especially in the food and nutrition sector?
So I would say the advice I would give you is that make like a prototype of your product and taste it and check that there's enough people there who want to definitely eat what you're making in the food sector. Because sometimes fads seem quite, they come and they go. So make sure that you've thought about what is your first question every investor will always ask you is what is your TAM, which is your total addressable market. And think about your capital structure according to your TAM. So you could be running a very, very profitable, great business, but you don't have to raise venture funding for it if it's not scalable. And if it is scalable, then you can go and raise money for that business. But if your business is something that will be, you can sell it at a decent margin, you can make enough profit off the bat of it, but you'll never get it to being a large scale business, then don't put yourself in harm's way.
Speaking of which, you spoke about scalability, and I also read that you are also aiming for profitability by mid 2025. What strategic initiatives are you focusing on to achieve this goal? And also, finally, tell us, what is your vision for the company in the future? What's on the horizon?
Okay. So I think on profitability, look, as a company, we have a very healthy gross margin. And for us to be profitable means that there is a choice to be made between how fast you grow and profitability. So at any point in time, as a company, Wholesome Foods can be EBITDA positive. We've also been growing 200% year on year since we started. And so almost you have to say, maybe I want to grow at 160%, 170%. And I want to be EBITDA positive while doing that. Or do I want to grow 200%, 250%, and then I'll have to burn some money. So you have to make that choice between which end you want to be on, and that is a decision only every one of the shareholders in your business can get together and decide. My vision for the business really is very simple. In one line is to change how the world eats for the better. Um, and to be able to do that, right, you really have to be able to do it at scale, and that's the dream.
Well, fantastic. Wish you all the very best. More power to you. And here's wishing you a very happy Children's Day.
Thank you. Thank you, Ritika, for having me. Thanks a lot, and happy Children's Day.
And with that, it's a wrap on this episode of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for watching. Good night.